I'm having a very, very slow day today. I don't talk about this that often, but I have a chronic illness, and more importantly, I have chronic pain. Lots and lots and lots of pain. It has been better. I've been going to physical therapy and I've been watching what I ingest. I've been really um, cognizant of how long I'm in a seated position for, where, when, and how I can move my body and all of that stuff. But every once in a while, well, more than every once in a while, but lately, because I've been somewhat good, every once in a while it really sneaks up on you. It really, really sneaks up on me. And it like the pain stops me from doing basic tasks. And I'm trying to pinpoint, oh, was there something you did that was abnormal maybe? Or was there something like you overexerted yourself? And yeah, sometimes that is the cause. I could overexert myself. I was like, what is that? I think it's my broom. Sometimes I can overexert myself and that'll definitely be the reason. Sometimes there is no reason. Um, Sometimes there's no reason at all. And it could be stress, it could be lack of sleep, it could be a number of things. And sometimes it's just is what it is and it's what my body does. And so this morning, I've been taking my day really, really slow, which in the past, when these sort of problems arise, I don't take the day slow, or I didn't, and I would just push through until I crashed and burned, and then I couldn't do anything. There's that saying, if you don't take a break, your body will do it for you. It really does do that. And it is always at the least convenient time. And I've got a show this week. I'm co-directing a multimedia showcase, and this week is going to be really, really hard. And so I canceled 2 of my classes that I teach this morning, unfortunately. And I'm going to have to make them up 2 Saturdays from now, which sucks. But on Mondays, I have 2 classes, and then I have to wait at work for 5 hours until I start directing for Showcase. And my body physically cannot cope with being up and about, being seated for that long without some kind of rest and some kind of break. And if you think, oh, we'll take a walk, oh, well, there's walking will make it worse if I'm already in a decline, and there's nowhere to lay down at work. Okay. So, I decided to treat myself this morning, and I'll pay for it later. So I'm using this opportunity to go slow. I had my coffee in bed. I slept in a little longer than I normally would. I looked at the cards. I meditated. And now I'm getting to my to-do list. Oh, I also journaled. I like to journal and do my to-do list. I make a big, this is everything I have to do on my to-do list. And then I also make a smaller, what can I do today? So I have a really, really massive to-do list. And that's really hard to accomplish right now. But I've been practicing being easier on myself. And so I'm going to be easy on myself while I dig into what I need to do for my research. I finished my first comprehensive exam. And if you don't know what that is, if you're a PhD student, depending on your program, every program is different. If you're in the humanities, if you're in sciences, if everything's going to be different. But for me, I have 2 comprehensive exams before I defend my dissertation proposal and then go off and do the dissertation. And the first one is literature review, and the second is advanced methodologies, which is the one I have to do next. So for us, these exams are a 30 to 50 page paper. And you are reading 30 books, 5 articles. It's a lot. And I'm trying to get a bit of a head start on this comprehensive exam because my advisor for this one, all the advisors are tough in a really supportive way. So when I say tough, I mean like they really hold you to a high standard, which is good. But it will be challenging, and methodologies feels like math to me if I have to try to explain it. And I'm really not good at math. I'm good at ideas and language and connecting ideas together. Math I'm not good at. And for some reason, the side of my brain that does math is the side of the brain that's looking at methodologies and getting really scared. So I'm trying to get a head start so that I can sort of work through that kind of fear. So what am I doing for this exam? I am looking at women's circles as spaces of healing and transformation, and I'm using 3 specific methodologies, and these methodologies will also come up in my dissertation. So I'm doing indigenous feminisms, ethnography, and narratology, and I'm actually starting with narratology because I've broken up my reading list into those 3 different methodology sections, and I'm starting with narratology because I have the most amount of those books already that I haven't read yet. And that's literally the only reason for why I'm doing that. So let's take a look at some of them. So what is narratology? So narratology is this idea that the way we tell stories and the content of the stories, whether they're performed, whether there's a musical element, maybe there's a cultural element, the way we tell stories, the way we construct narrative changes human perception about something, a big idea, other people, other places in the world. But the stories we tell and the way we tell the stories changes how we think and feel. And that'll be really important for my dissertation because I'm looking at mythology and folklore, but I'm also looking at the ways in which depictions of certain people, of goddesses, impacts the way we think about and view women. And it'll be a bit auto-ethnographic in terms of me trying to reconcile multiple sides of myself. So I'm starting with narratology. It's going to be a lot, but here's what I have purchased so far. And this doesn't include the digital copies that I have of things that I will link in the description. So, performing stories, narrative as performance. Here's one. A nice chunky one, right? This one I'm really looking forward to. The Woman Who Married the Bear, the Spirituality of the Ancient Foremothers. Really excited about this. These are 2 Indigenous scholars. I am really, really excited about this one. I can't wait to dig into this. My ancestors are reindeer herders, and I am melting in extinction. I too am a Sami American who is on the journey of reconnection and exploration of my own self and being and ancestors. So this is more. I mean, this is a book of um, nonfiction and poetry. So I won't really be able to use it in my comprehensive exam, but I think it will be really beneficial for me to read, not just for personal reasons, but also because it'll help me understand how to apply narratology and what the effects of narrative can have in different forms of writing. Now, I don't like this word. We have since mostly done away with this word because it's a derogatory word. But with the lapse in the high mountains, a woman among the Sami from 1907 to 1908. So this is a much older book. This came out like 1913 or something. Which again, because it's so old, I might not really be able to use it in my exam. But again, this woman did some work that I'm also hopefully going to be doing. So seeing how she wrote about her experience, this is more ethnography than is narratology, but I'm reading it nonetheless. This might help me. Red tents. Unraveling our past and weaving a shared future. This is not so. I keep fixing my hair because my hair is in this stage of like, it's not all the way wet, but it's not dry, and it's my least favorite place for it to be. But I'm trying not to judge myself, so sorry. This is not scholarly in nature. This is more, again, how we apply narratology. And I also, host red tents. And so red tents are a different kind of women's circle. So just reading about women's experiences might help me find language and bigger themes and make meaning of the work I'm trying to do. And locating different themes and ideas might help me pick up on those themes and ideas in different literature that's more scholarly in nature when I'm writing my comprehensive exam. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you read a bunch of extra stuff that you may not be able to use for your exam because time is of the essence. But my exam doesn't start until the fall semester. So I'm really going to be using the summer to read more broadly and narrow down my reading list. So I am afforded the opportunity to do that. Don't give yourself more work if you don't have to. Don't give yourself more work. Your advisor may say otherwise. I'm telling you, don't do it. Okay, what's next? Oh, this I started reading. See my pencil as a bookmark. So this is Sami Media and Indigenous Agency in the Arctic North. And actually, one of the writers of this book, Thomas A., I'm assuming it's Dubois, was kind enough to respond to my email a few months ago when asking for direction to go into researching Sami spirituality and goddesses. So thanks, Professor, for answering a stranger. Now I have your book. People can be so nice. Okay, Inari Sami folklore. I'm really looking forward to this. Even though this is not necessarily academic in nature, I'm fighting for this for a few reasons. One, it is literally translations of the narrative that are integral to how people interpret the world around them and one another and things that they cannot see. Two, it was published by a university press. Okay? Which means we did some research. And And it's written by an assistant professor in the Department of Folk Studies and Anthropology, and a member of the Sami American community. So here's another professor I should reach out to. So I'm fighting for it. Fight for your research before it fights you. And Vitality of Indigenous Religions in Sapmi Reclaiming Sacred Ground. This is part of a Routledge series on Indigenous religion. So if you're unsure of where to go, especially with, I don't know, this is also not ethnography. I piled my books together. What do you want from me? I'm having a slow day, remember? I'm having a chronic pain slow day. But I'm going to use this for the Indigenous feminisms because I'm looking at Indigenous spirituality through an Indigenous feminist lens. So this is a really great book. And the last book that I have that's physical in my hand is The Red Tent. So you might think, well, that's what? So here's the thing. There's a teeny tiny bit of wiggle room, for me anyway, when it comes to comprehensive exams. What do I mean by that? If the majority, say I've got 30 books I have to read, I do. If 27 of those are scholarly, academic in nature, and I've got 3 that either are really significant contributions to the field that I'm looking at. Maybe they're wildly popular and they're written by someone who has a lot of research and interest, background in the topic. Like Women Who Run with the Wolves is a great example of that. She's got a PhD, she's using archetypes. It's not necessarily a scholarly book. It's more, a book for the masses, but it's still very popular. She's got an academic background, blah, blah, blah. I can have 3 that maybe sort of toe the line in that way, as long as they fit within the theme, the context, the idea of what I'm trying to do. So Anita Diamant's book, The Red Tent, is one of those things. So this book sparked a movement for red tents across the world, right? And it's crazy, I trained to host red tents. I received my red tent temple priestess training. I've seen other books, I've seen other literature, and I've never read this book, believe it or not. It's crazy how something that could start a movement, the movement becomes bigger than you could ever imagine. And sometimes the origins of those things get lost, which is a shame. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. So this is a reimagined story from the Hebrew Bible, I believe. Yep. Yeah, so it's Dinah in, I believe we're looking at the book of Genesis. And it's this it's a reimagining of what her life would be like. And, there's still places in the world where women, when they menstruate, they either go to a separate place to be alone, to be together, to be purified, to be in ceremony and ritual by their own choice, or they are forced to do so. And this is a reimagining of what that might have been like for this character from the Bible. It's also a Lifetime miniseries. I didn't know that. That's what it says. So I'm really looking forward to read this. This is a novel. This is not an academic book, but it is steeped in Judeo-Christian mythology and a character that we find in that mythology, and reimagines that mythology, in a narrative way. And so this toes the line there. And I'm going to fight to use it because I think that, as much as we should be studying the advanced methodologies and what they are and how they can be used, um, I want to see them applied as well. And this is one way they're applied. And here's another way they're applied. But this is less substantial and doesn't really toe the line as simply a book of poetry. I don't know if you can see it through the screen, but I am so tired. I am so, so tired. And I developed a chronic illness later in life. I'm a firm believer that our environment plays a significant factor in our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health, and that all of those things combined, those attack on the system, can manifest into a real, tangible illness. And so I don't mean to say that anyone's illness is made up in their mind. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are root causes. And I do think that if we were afforded the real, true opportunity to root out what those are, we could heal ourselves. But that's a privilege that I'm not afforded at the moment. My partner came home, video got interrupted, and I blow dried my hair. And now I feel like a much better person. So, as I was saying, I'm not afforded the opportunity to really deeply, truly care for myself right now. I'm not rich. Quite the opposite. I've been really lucky in life to receive a lot of the opportunities that I have received. And so I'm not like destitute or anything. But, times are hard for everyone. I can't not work and only focus on my PhD, and I can't afford to do a PhD full time, half time, because then I don't get the financial aid support, which then I wouldn't be able to do any of my coursework at all. So it's like around and round and round, we circle the drain. And I just know if I really had the time to heal, I'd feel a lot better. But in the meantime, I do what I can. I do small little things here and there. And today is one of those days. I feel immensely tired. Like tired in my bones, tired in my being, tired in my spirit. I just am exhausted. And so sometimes when I was exhausted, I just lay down and do nothing and rot on my phone. But I have found that, it doesn't really help. Sometimes I can't do anything else, and I'm not going to push my body to its brink anymore. But if I have the ability to do something else, I do. And so I will. So I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to hydrate, take some magnesium. And then I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do my best. The commute into New York City sucks. It's not even a long commute for me. It's actually, in the grand scheme of things, a really short commute. But it's the constant running from one train to the next. Because if you miss one, that's it. You're late. So I gotta run here, then I gotta transfer here, then I gotta go there, then I gotta get on a different train, then I gotta get up the steps, then I gotta walk for however many blocks. It's just, by the time I get to and from work, I feel like I have run a marathon. And actually, for my job, I have to go in between two different buildings that are about 10 to 12 blocks away from each other, which doesn't sound very far. It's not very far, but the avenues are really fucking far. And part of my chronic pain affects my feet and my legs and my hips and my low back. So, what should not be a really monumental journey becomes a really monumental journey. And so, these last couple of weeks of showcase have just been really hard. So, I'm looking forward to the show being done. So, enough complaining. I'm going to look at another deck of cards for some spiritual inspiration. I'm going to take myself on a little walk, and then I will be on my way. Let's go. So, these are the magical drum cards, magical drum set. And this is a Sami shamanic drum. I have one as well that I purchased from Finland, actually. These cards are beautiful. This is the same sort of front here. And this is, there are different runes. You could say they're not really runes in the traditional sense of how we think about what a rune is, but they are different sacred symbols, and they all have a very different meaning within Sami folklore, mythology, and culture. And so these are my newest deck of cards. I have a lot of cards. Some that I use a lot more than others that I have a deeper connection to. Some that I've been meaning to use more, but again, tired and busy. And that's the thing that I think sucks the most about having a chronic illness that can take like days away from you at a time, is that all the things that you find pleasure in and joy in, by the time like all the work and the mandatory stuff is done, you've got like no energy left, and you have to sort of force yourself to do these things that you like. For me, that's ritual, that's ceremony, that's women's circles, being out in nature. And when you start to have to force yourself to do things that you like, it's not as fun anymore, is it? At least it's not for me. So let's see what we have in store. I don't know about you, and maybe other people who read cards. Every once in a while, I'll pull from where I feel something. Usually, I shuffle in a way that when I'm ready, they're at the top of the deck. Recently, everything's been at the bottom for me. Everything. The squirrel. You see the squirrel on the tree? Everything's been at the bottom. Like, I have to go to the bottom before I go to the top, and I don't know why. The bear in the village. There he is. And then one more. The creator. So I don't know this deck well enough to not look at the book. And I also want to say, if you're someone who's been reading for a really long time and you still consult the book for things that it says, okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Everyone's brain works differently. And also, I've been guilty of this. I start to make an association with what a card means based on my interpretation. But then I go back and I look at the book and I look at everything that it could represent. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I didn't consider this or consider this or consider this. And one of those things that you stop associating the card with might be the perfect message for that other person needs to hear. Or maybe you need to hear. So even if you are like so good and you've got everything memorized, that's okay. Sometimes you need to consult the book. Like me right now, the squirrel. See? This book, I like when the books are like this. I love the big books, don't get me wrong. But I can just whip this bad boy out. It's very compact. The squirrel. Hard work, preparedness, renewal, adaptability, change, spirit, playfulness. See beyond current limitations. That's apt. Break free and be more grounded in yourself and your environment. Yeah. It is not enough to be alive. Evolve. Do not get stuck in the same patterns and routines. That's a message for me. Maybe it's a message for you too. Maybe we're all in this together, right? And then who else we got? We have the bear in the village. Obstacles and inner challenges, discomfort. You start needing to face something, identifying what is stopping your progress. So the bear in the village coupled with the squirrel is really interesting, right? Don't get stuck in old patterns and identify what is keeping you there. Yeah. Take a strong stance against destructive gossip. I always take a strong. I love a good cup of tea. Okay, I love a good cup of tea. What I don't like is like unfounded gossip. I don't know if that. Now listen, there's a whole camp of people out there. I'm one of them, I think, where we see gossip as actually a liberatory, decolonial practice. What do I mean by that? Well, back in the day, when women were super fucked, a way of keeping each other safe with information about who's who, who's doing what, who's going where, who's saying this, is gossip. How else are we supposed to know which man to stay away from? What person is a bad person? Someone who could get hurt? Gossip. But gossip when it's just like really mean and horrid towards people, like, oh, she's a slut, oh, she's this, or she. How you know? You don't know that. Do you see it with your own eyes? And what does that mean anyway? So, like, love a good cup of tea, but not like unresearched, explored tea, if that makes sense. Anywho, pay attention to those little feelings you get about situations and people. Okay, I will. And finally, Radhyanatya, the creator, 31. A life in balance, sun is shining in you, not on you, but in you. I like that. Rivers flowing through you. Do not resist change. See? Let things flow. Creatorship. Harness your power to create. Know your power. Dream your life into being. Raise your level of consciousness. Do not listen to others. See with your heart. Take action. Have courage. So, that all makes sense. That all makes sense when you put it together. So, lucky for me, I have some space behind my apartment complex that is green and has grass and trees and all that good stuff. And I have my camera with me now, but normally I come out here without anything and I just feel. It's hard because it's not like the kind of nature I'd love to have, but I'm grateful nonetheless that it's here. But it's weird because, like, I'll be walking around, right? And it was a nice enough day, I'll take my shoes off and I'll walk barefoot. And people look at me like I'm crazy. Why is it crazy to want to put your feet on the earth? I think it's crazy that you don't want to. All of this is basically to say, if you have chronic illness, chronic pain, and you feel like you can't get a PhD, yes, you can. The number one important thing you need to do, like me, is take care of yourself. See you next time.